From Creamer Media in Johannesburg, this is the Real Economy Report. Our top stories this week. ArcelorMittal South Africa commits itself to cleaning up its operations. The laser celebrates its 50th anniversary this year. And Steinmuller Engineering Services demonstrates its explosive welding technology. In recognizing how negative steel making can be for the environment, ArcelorMittal South Africa has committed itself to improving the impact its operations are having on the environment. Chanel de Bruin has more.
It is important to acknowledge the sins of the past, says ArcelorMittal SA CEO Nonkululeko Nyembezi-Heita, noting that the company has a long legacy to overcome in terms of improving the environmental impact of its operations. She emphasizes that while the company has no desire to pollute, this is an unavoidable consequence of the steelmaking process.
We do want jobs, and the jobs mean that we have to actually produce steel and produce gases in South Africa, and those industrial operations do have an environmental impact. The only thing we can do, while not able to eliminate that completely, what we can do is to mitigate it.
ArcelorMittal SA has committed more than 1 billion rand to upgrade its facilities to ensure that it minimizes its impact on the environment.
What we've committed to as a group, and this commitment comes from way up top, is that in cleaning it up, we are going to use what is available as the best available technologies in the world. We're not going to say, South Africa is a developing country, this is technology that is good, all well and good and adequate for that purpose, and we have Burns Harbor in the US, and that's going to get the best that the world has to offer. That's not the approach. The approach is whatever plant installs any kind of extractive or mitigating tool, that tool will be the best available technology in the world.
This year, the laser celebrates its 50th anniversary. Creamer Media visits the National Laser Centre at the CSIR and looks at this technology, which has moved from the realm of science fiction to significantly impact our everyday lives in a relatively short time.
In 1960, Mayman at the Hughes Aircraft Corporation developed the first laser. And so it's a big event. 50 years of the laser, many technologies have been developed since then. Many will be developed in the future. So lasers are becoming all-pervasive. And in fact, it's not only in medicine. If you think about it, 10 or 20 years ago, if you had a telephone, it would be linked with a copper wire from your house to the center. Today, it's most likely going to be a fiber optic. So everywhere that electrons were used in the past, we are seeing photons taking over. So light is now being used as a means of communication. And slowly but surely, lasers and light are taking over the roles of electronics and electrons. The Laser Center has several focus areas. So we try and look at lasers and apply them in medicine, for example, in wound healing, in photodynamic therapy for cancer. We look at lasers for materials processing, for cutting metals and helping industry to be more competitive. And we also look at lasers on the fundamental science side, how to advance our knowledge and understanding of how they work. So we are hosting a range of public lectures to tell the public about this. We have a lot of school visits. Our students are hosting schools to tell them about what lasers can do for them and why they should study laser science. So the center's been around for about 10 years, 6 of which have been in the CSIR. It started off very small with a few people and a lot of old lasers, and over time it's evolved now to, as I said, about 70 people, and I would say world-class research facilities.
Steinmuller Engineering Services recently demonstrated its explosive welding technology that will be used at state-owned power supplier Eskom's power plants. Marianne O'Donnell was at the demonstration.
Explosive welding technology will be used for the replacement and repair of Eskom's high-pressure heater feed water heaters. The technology uses explosives in a controlled environment to join the two surfaces that are being welded together and is more cost-effective than conventional welding. Steinmuller business development consultant Jack Minto explains.
It's not a new technology. It's been used for over 30 years. It takes a fraction of the time for this process to be carried out, especially on the plug-in process on the power stations to fix leaking tubes on heat exchangers. And this saves Eskom a considerable amount of money, because the downtime on generator outages causes a loss in megawatt output, and of course a lot of financial problems for Eskom. It's quicker and cheaper, and the call-out times for the staff on the stations, normal conventional systems, take anything up to 1 to 3 days. This system, the explosive plug-in on site, can be done in a few hours, and this is a huge benefit to Eskom when you consider downtime of generators.
And now for a sneak preview of this week's Engineering News magazine. In our cover story, we ask whether the host cities will be ready to sweat their new sporting assets when the sun sets on the 2010 Soccer World Cup. South Africa's long-established solar water heater manufacturer, SolarBeam, unveils a 2.5 million rand manufacturing expansion. And the wind measurement masts for the South African Wind Energy Project will be erected and start gathering data by July. And in Mining Weekly this week, in this week's cover story, we highlight the issue of Zimbabwe dividing the Kimberley Process member countries. JSE-listed coal miner Exxaro expects to wheel power to consumers from 4 independent power producer coal-fired power stations at its proposed greenfield Thabametsi coal mine. And we report that Australia's new Prime Minister is throwing the door open to miners on the tax regime. That's Creamer Media's Real Economy Report. Join us again next week for more news and insight into South Africa's real economy.